This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 163 of Horsemanship Radio, brought to you by Finishline Fencing, the original and only warranted horse fence of its kind. Horsemanship Radio is a part of the family of the Horse Radio Network, and today we have a ranch riding horse girl on. You're going to love her, Laura. And then we have Monty Roberts with Olympic eventer Boyd Martin. They are just a combination of grit and good horsemanship. This is Debbie Laux, and you're listening to the Horsemanship Radio. Thanks for joining us. Horsemanship Radio airs on the 1st and the 15th of the month, and I have my producer, Jen, with me today. Hi, Jen.
Greetings. How's Debbie? As we record this, you guys have just finished up with the movement. I bet your head's just spinning, isn't it?
It was so much fun. I know we talked a little bit about it in the last episode, too, but, with the reviews coming in and everything, we're learning so much. But you know what, Jen? The best part was it really came across to other people, not just me with, the way I hoped it would be, and not just my friends and, parents saying, I thought it was pretty good. It really across the globe. I had one girl write us this morning, and she's been a little bit harangued by natural horsemanship. She's over in England, and she's been a student of the concepts. And she said a lot of her friends tease her about the concepts and everything. And she said that she was literally going from crying when she was watching it with happy tears to, see, I told you it works, yelling at the TV. And it was streamed live, as we said, on Horse and Country TV, which did a fabulous job. I mean, I actually got an email from the head of the programming, Jonathan Rippon, who we've had on Horsemanship Radio before, and he was very kind to say that, we've had rave reviews and that their numbers, I said, how are you telling people how many people watched this? How do you answer that question? And he said that there were thousands of people watching it, and he actually is counting the numbers now as they get their numbers in from all over the world, right? Because they're in Australia and Sweden and Germany and, of course, the UK. But he said, I can't really compare the numbers to anything else because we've never done really anything like this before.
That's true. There's nothing to compare to. It's completely unique. Yeah.
Right. And so they got hundreds of subscribers from it, which is good for them. And I'm just happy about the whole thing. So that's the TV part of it. The horse part of it, I really think, Jen, this is one of the best platforms we've ever put out there for sharing the concepts. And, that is our mission statement. The Queen, Dad was on the phone with the Queen this morning. We may mention that in our interview coming up here, but he actually got her watching it a little bit too, which is great. We invited her too, and she knows the concepts though. She gets it. And so, it's fun for us to be enlisted by her to go forth and multiply and share these concepts. And so when you get those emails in that says, where has this stuff been my whole life? It's just, it's really heartwarming. We're really happy to have it. And so I think we'll keep doing this. We'll keep doing this live streaming thing or a hybrid of both because we really love the feeling of having it on the farm with a small audience too, very intimate and very these working with the horses in a very quiet, organic way for a long time. It's not a quick session. It's peaceful and we just work with the horse in a fair pace and they respond.
Cool. And I only got to watch a tiny little bit of it because I had to work that day, but I had told you earlier, I was very pleased with the production value. Going with Horse and Country TV was so smart because they know how to do this stuff.
They do. And it was a beautiful team. I have to thank Michael and William and especially David Qualls who have merged. They partnered with Horse and Country and they genius. Will is a 5th generation Kentucky horse people and off the charts brilliant with technology too. So thank you, William. And to Michael out of LA, he, the COVID thing has got some really talented people sitting at home. So we were able to recruit our audio man and Michael, and he's such a quiet professional guy, did so well around the horses, not a horse guy. But David Qualls has been, he calls himself, what he's building is the ESPN of equestrian events. And I guarantee you he is. He's really good. And so people will be happy to hear that we have video on demand coming too. They can listen to it on, if they are subscribers of Horse and Country TV, the video is up there on demand. And then we'll be having it too for all the people that are ticket holders will get access to that, because we figured, people can't sit there and watch everything through, even though there were 6 sessions, 2 hours each. Split up over 3 days. Somebody in Australia is going to be asleep during some of that, and
Well,
it's
and you're
in
going to go
fairness.
back and watch it again too. It's like,
Of course,
that
I
part
hope
was
so.
really cool. I want to watch it again. Yeah.
Yeah, or how did you do that coming to the mounting block lesson, right? And and the work with the Mustangs and yoga, and then personal coaching at trailer loading. We had Dr. Madison Siemens and working with the ocular portion of a horse's anatomy and behavior, how the equine vision affects their behavior and how we can be more fair to our horses. And, just on and on. We just had so many great presentations. We just hit it out of the park with that. We had chiropractor Ellie Boardman, and you'll have to see little Tucker the Mustang. He is our superstar throughout the 3 days, painted up with a skeleton and beautifully done artistically by May and Aaron Burkett. And May Oliveras is from Brazil and a vet. She's a veterinarian, and she does know her bones. So she did a wonderful job. So this sounds like a credit roll here, but they really made it. They do deserve the credit for just giving us the ability to showcase some beautiful, beautiful concepts in horsemanship.
So for somebody who did not have a ticket at that time when you broadcast, is there a way for them to get the taped versions? Can you buy an after the fact ticket or a CD or something?
A very good question. Thank you. We're going to have the Vimeo video on demand up just shortly here. We're amalgamating all the video. So that's going to be really inexpensive, digital cheap, kind of thing, $9.99 or something like that, I think is what we have up there now from the last 2 years of the movement. And then, as I said, too, if you're a subscriber of Horse and Country TV, you have access to that, but you have to be a subscriber. So either way, yes, you will get to watch these over and over again. If you were a ticket holder, though, you actually automatically get access to those too. So
watching my inbox.
You watch your inbox, you're getting one.
There you go.
We're very excited about it. Yeah.
Pretty cool. Well, enough about the movement. It's come, it's gone. We're looking forward to it again next year. And if you didn't remember all of that stuff we talked about, if you just go to montyroberts.com, information that you need is there. The phone number to Flag Is Up Farm is there. It's easy peasy because you just call the farm and they can just walk you right through everything you need to know. So there you go. I think it is time to get to our first guest. But before we do that, of course, as usual, we need to hear from our sponsor. And we will get to our guest right after that.
I'm with Kim and Lisa again from Finishline Fencing, and we were just chatting about some of the things that people have been bragging about on the Finishline Fencing. And I thought, you know what, we should put that all together in one spot. And you just rattle off all the great things that you tell us about Finishline Fencing, like how strong it is and how easy it to install. But shoot, you got the floor now.
Well, thank you, Debbie. So Finishline is strong. The standard Finishline is 1,250 pounds of tensile strength per strand. Finishline XL is 1,850 pounds of tensile strength per strand. It's very, very easy to install. You can use any type of post, wood, T-post, vinyl, honestly, anything. It's lightweight. Finishline only weighs 24 pounds, and that's 2,000 feet on a spool. Finishline XL is a 2,000-foot coil, and it only weighs 30 pounds. It's also weather resistant. It can withstand UV light temperatures between negative 40 and 130. It never sags. It never loses its tension. It's maintenance-free once you install it, which is a great benefit of it. And there's actually no metal wire in it at all. It does not rust, rot, or corrode. It will not injure your animals the way that a standard high tensile fence would. So it's so much safer. And then one thing that we do always recommend with every installation is a strand of electric. It's made to be as a combination fence with the Finishline and then the electric.
Yeah, so easy to install, lightweight, maintenance-free, no metal wire, no rusting. I don't know why anybody would choose anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah, and hedges are hard to maintain. I'd rather put up a fence. So I'm glad to see that you're out there, and you've been out there for 30 years. So where do people find you, and how do they get a hold of you to get their custom job done?
Yes. So you can find us at finishlinefence.com. Our Facebook page is Finishline Fence, and our phone number is 877-625-6100. We have a full shop on our website. You can always give us a call. We would be happy to get you a quote. It is great for the do-it-yourselfers. We don't install, but most of our customers just do the installation themselves. That's how easy it is.
Boyd Martin, the son of Winter Olympic athletes, began riding at a young age in his native Australia. He found much success before moving to the U.S. in 2007 to further his career as an eventing professional, serving as the assistant trainer to the Olympian Philip Dutton for 2 years before starting his own business. Martin has a dual citizenship for Australia and the U.S., and began riding for the U.S. in 2009. Martin has claimed numerous top placings in the Land Rover Kentucky 3-day event and others. Martin has represented the U.S. in 3 Pan American Games and was on 2 Olympic teams for the U.S. Boyd is married to his wife, Silva, who is a Grand Prix dressage rider and a co-owner of the couple's farm, Windura, USA. They have 2 sons, Knox and Leo Roscoe. Well, welcome. I've got Boyd Martin and Monty Roberts on the phone. I'm so excited because you guys are like, for me, it's the combination of horsemanship and grit all in one package in both guys. Really excited about talking to you, Boyd. And I know what Dad's been up to lately, but I want to get a conversation started with you two, and you guys can kind of forget I'm even here, but a conversation about what you've been doing during this extraordinary time, this COVID time. I record this, and what you've been doing with your horses, and and how's the family, and any contemplations that might have sort of changed the trajectory of what you've been doing lately. So Boyd, maybe first.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, Debbie and Monty. It's obviously a huge honor and privilege talking to you guys. And like you said, I've had a wonderful time in this Corona shutdown. It's been a real reset button for me. It's no competitions and no teaching people or no owners coming to the farm, and it's really been a moment where I can actually just concentrate on training the horses, and it's been luxurious actually. It's no crazy early mornings of going to the competitions, and all the horses are fit and sound, and just taking a lot of time spending with the horses all day and just training them, which is sort of my true passion. And as Monty probably knows, as time goes on, there's so many more sort of distractions and interruptions into what you really want to do, which is just to train horses. So I've had a good couple of months, and to be honest, a couple of weeks ago I had a surgery that I was going to get done at the end of this year. I had both my hips cleaned up with a bit of both scoped out, so I'm ready to get back into the swing of things.
I was going to ask you about that, Boyd, not about your hips so much. I didn't want to ask any personal questions about what you're repairing, but I saw you on the craziest looking machine, some anti-gravity treadmill thing. Tell us about that. Is that for your hips?
Yeah, so I think I've just been a lot of wear and tear for the last 20 years riding, and both my hips have just got arthritis, and I had some bone spurs and labrum tears in both hips, and it was a surgery that I've been putting off, and I was planning on getting it done until after the Olympics, and then the Olympics got cancelled, and so I quickly jumped in and got it like an old car getting repaired. And got that done. And so I've been last couple of weeks just teaching a lot of clinics, and I've got some good riders working my horses at home here. So I've enjoyed just, sitting back and watching the horses improve, and fired up and eager to get back into it, to be honest.
Yeah, I bet. And Dad has some similar stories too of taking some time.
I don't want to go into my stories about that because you only have an hour here, and I'm telling you what, let's don't go there. What I would add to that is that this time, with the sequestration and all that sort of thing, it ought to become mandatory that anyone that trains horses ought to take at least 60 days out of each year just to lock himself in or herself with their horses and the things that happen around them in the horse industry, and go to school again. Go to school and think about the horses and what their reaction is. It's an amazing thing. And with me, I have this ultra privilege of having a family group of deer, wild deer, that I've worked with for 47 years. Now, I want to tell you, that's a hell of an investment when you spend 47 years working with one family group of wild deer. And with my travels since 1989, it's been abbreviated so many times, but when I come back, I watch those animals come back to me. And, if I didn't have to sleep, I would just spend 24 hours with them every day. The deer, being flight animals, are so much more sensitive to our relationship that they are better teachers than the horses even. And they charge you a big price when you get it wrong. So you have to work really hard to get it right. But I'm having fun with it, man. I'm having so much fun with it. And just like Boyd, I heard him say that this was an uplift in his horsemanship, if you will. And I've certainly found it that way myself.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I've never, my shorter period of being a professional horseman, never actually enjoyed it as much. It sounds horrible, but I'm usually going from competition or show to show to show, and it's just frantic. And I got to say, my horses are happier now too. Like that, you're spending more time with them. There's not so many interruptions, and I like your idea, Monty, of this 60-day shutdown every year, because I think I've got to know my horses better than I've ever have before, and I think they're enjoying the work that I'm putting into them, and it's not this sort of hustle and bustle of one show to the next show to the next show, and it's they just seem happier, and I got to say they're going better. They feel healthier, and I think I've accomplished more in this shutdown or this lockdown than I have over the last few years. They've just all blossomed and accelerated a bit in their education, which is it's been a very, very interesting forced sort of project or study that we've had to go through.
That is so similar to the experience that I've had, incredibly similar. I think Boyd expresses it better than I do, but my word, the horses are liking it because we don't have to worry about what are you going to do on Saturday. I got to fix this. I got to fix that. And you push and you shove because we have to. I spent, 40 years of my life in competition, and I worried every day about every little nuance of their output for me. And oftentimes that slows it down rather than speed it up. And content animals, if we can just cause the horse to want to do it, we're so much better off. And I think during these sequestrations, we do allow the horse a little bit of time to want to do it, and so they do it better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And my dear, I had the most incredible experience because I just recently did a documentary with 2 cameras in hidden positions because they don't like anybody that they don't know to be around. And I went through 3 long sessions with my deer. And I think it's very interesting to see that the cameras went away. Now I'm back with my deer, and it's just me and the deer. And they invaded me. They absolutely invaded me when the cameras were gone. And I thought, that's those cameras, and those camera people around that did that. And I sat there, and suddenly I realized that my core, my body functions, my whole neurological system was better when the cameras were gone. I wasn't thinking I have to get this and I have to get that and I want this and I want that. I just lived with my deer, and they said, finally, you're your old self again. It was so much fun. I blame myself. And that's what we have to do, Boyd, with all of our horses, isn't it? You got to look in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong, instead of blaming the horses.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. I mean, I've experienced the same thing where all of a sudden, the owners of the horses turn up to watch their horses jump, and I'm quickly trying to get the horse jumping well. And now, because the farm's been on lockdown, some horses might take me an hour and a half to ride, and I'm in no pressure to quickly make it look good or get it going because someone's just turned up and are watching what I'm doing. And it's very similar to your deer and the camera. So I think it's been a great education just as horsemen.
Do you have have you learned anything specifically, any breakthroughs, Boyd, that you can?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that, unfortunately now I'm busy, and my day is so structured with, I've got to teach a lesson at 2:00 and owners coming at 3:30, and then, like this whole scheduling of my normal day-to-day stuff. I've got a competition tomorrow, and this horse has to get ridden by this time because it has to get braided, and you wipe all of that out, and you wake up in the morning, you have your cup of coffee, and the only thing you've got to worry about all day is training, the number of horses that you want to train, and there's no time means nothing. And then also I've got to say I've become a better father. I think I've just spent so much more time with my family. We're very lucky to have about 100 acres here in Pennsylvania, and I've got 2 young boys, and there's been no going to restaurants or going out for dinner or racing off to other people's places for a barbecue, and it's been fun actually, just being on this quarantine with my friends and family. It's been really good.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so familiar to me, Debbie. And I have to tell you that sitting there and watching my deer, for instance, I realize that the deer are so locked into their family. And they keep track of those babies, because those babies are going to be eaten if they don't keep track of them.
Right. Yeah.
They only weigh 8 or 10 pounds, and the coyotes are waiting. And their family comes together, and they protect one another. They get along, and we as human beings have almost eliminated the family.
So can you shut that door? Sorry, guys, a kid banging on the door. I locked myself in the office, and he tracked me down. I'm
Good
sorry.
for him.
That was God's movement right there to talk about the families. And
yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
Bringing those children in was proof positive that his family are getting closer to him. Mm-hmm. And the deer still have that familial connection because they have to have it in order to survive. But we've developed all these systems of games on TV and TV tables to eat on, and not having dinner with the family and not sitting down and visiting about what you did on the day disperses our families. And we better be careful, because that could be the end of a species entirely. And when we see all of these demonstrations across this country, those people are not coming together as a family. And we are dividing ourselves along fine lines that have to do with colors of your skin and your religion or your job, when in fact we are human beings, and we should come together and appreciate one another in order to stay a viable species. Better start looking in and learning that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sage advice at 85. So Monty is 85 this year. And it's interesting because technology has been increased during this time, right? Good and bad, but everybody is web conferencing or working from home or whatever. But I think it's interesting that people are coming to both of you, and this was independent thought, I'm sure, because you two don't work together, but you've both taken on the project of personal coaching, which I think is brilliant, because your combined years with horses is a lot. We won't even do the math. But Dad jokes that he didn't get in the horse business until he was about 3, 4, so goofing around before that. But what is it about personal coaching that appealed to you, Boyd, besides just filling the void? Is there something that can, is it that one-on-one contact with people, or I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think the world's changing and it's evolving, and and I think there's people from all corners of the world that are very interested in what you're doing, and I mean, I remember seeing Monty perform in Australia, and from a young kid in Australia, like, we had to travel for hours and hours and hours to watch him at the convention centre there in Melbourne, and I only got an hour session and then tried to really understand what he was talking about. And then, and with the technology now of, video and conferencing, is if you really want to connect or I think one of the positive things with technology is that there's so much more information out there that if you're really, really obsessed about getting better, that you find a mentor or someone that you think's a genius in what you want to do, I think there's a real moment in history now where we can instantaneously connect with them. And, I think with what I'm doing, a little bit of this online training, and it's a very simplistic idea where people can send in some footage of their horses training in the sport I'm in, which is 3-day eventing, and then I can sit down, watch through their video, and then basically do a recording of some of the things that I see and some of the ideas that I would have in training the horse. And, this person might be on the other side of America or in another country. They could be in Africa, and they very easily now they can connect with someone that they think is good at what they do and get some tips and some information and some advice on where to go with their horse. And and I got to say I enjoy it, and having this, I think it's a great feeling knowing that people are actually interested in what you're doing and want to hear with your opinion or what you're thinking of how you treat this horse or how you'd train it or any ideas. And it's a pretty cool new innovative idea that we I think a few people are doing it, so it's good.
Yeah,
wow, this is so synergistic, because we just completed a 3-day, third annual 3-day event called The Movement. And this particular year, we couldn't have people come to The Movement, and it's about changing the ideas to go away from violence in the training of horses. And so Debbie came up with the idea to do a virtual movement, which indeed we had very few people on the property, and yet we went out to the world. Now, guess what happened today? I had a conversation on the telephone this morning with Queen Elizabeth II.
Are you kidding me?
I had it this morning, and we had a lot of things to talk about, and I had no idea that she was looking in on the movement. And what does she do? But the Queen comes up with, "Oh, Monty, I really enjoyed the little white horse coming to the mounting block." Now, can you believe? I was almost shocked off the phone. Yeah. I didn't know she was watching. And I loved this little white horse coming to the mounting block. But she's now riding ponies that come down from Scotland. Mm-hmm. And those are the ponies she's riding now. Mm-hmm. Instead of the full-sized horses, she's riding ponies. And she said, "Oh, I want Terry Pendry, who's a student of yours. I want Terry Pendry to teach my ponies to come to the mounting block." So I'm already under orders now to get to England as soon as I can and teach Terry Pendry how to bring those ponies to the mounting block. But imagine, we went out with something like 8 or 9 presenters. We went out to the world with our event called the Movement, and we threw in with Horse and Country TV from the UK, who took their family and hooked them up to the movement, which increased our numbers dramatically. So yes, the world is changing. I have to step back and say, you go on and do your stuff with all of those machines, and then just tell me when to start talking, because I don't know the first thing about the computer. But Debbie, you came up with a good idea, and now we're thinking about ways, because so many people have chimed in to say this was the greatest, and I could sit at home and I could really enjoy it, and so forth and so on. I don't know. I won't live long enough to see you guys in all of the ways that we can get this information out there, but certainly violence is never the answer.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, very good. Well, it's fun. It's fun to have both of you available to people. So literally people can just make an appointment with you, Boyd, and then they come to, I think Rutledge Farm is putting that on to give them a bit of a plug there too. How do people find out about that? Do they go to a website for you?
Yeah, go to the Rutledge website, and then again they log in, and then there's all the information where to send their video footage of their horse, and it can be training at home or at the competition, and then that video gets sent to me, and then I'll watch it a couple of times and come up with basically some comments on the riding and how the horse is going, and then maybe some exercises and some experiences I've had with similar horses, and relay it back to the people. And I think it's a bit like what Monty's saying. I think it's a wonderful technology, and it's that you don't have to physically be at a clinic or drive your horse into a session. You can be from the black blocks of anywhere in the world, and try and learn a little bit from someone that you think's a credible person. And I think it makes it this idea of the art of training horses available to anyone in the world. Where I keep remembering Mum and Dad packing us up in the car and waking up early, and driving all the way to watch Monty's show, and now it's just a press of a button, and you could be right there and hopefully getting the same sort of information.
Well, that's nice. I think it doesn't. I like to hear the horses and hear them breathe and smell, and and it is hard to give up those sensory things not being there. But I think it is a nice hybrid option, maybe in the normal next world, that when we're not so much in lockdown. But it does provide a vehicle for people who are in gosh knows where on some corner of the earth, who really want to improve and learn from a Boyd Martin or a Monty Roberts. And you're absolutely right. It does make it more convenient for that too. And maybe that's enough to inspire them to eventually get over there and get coached too. But love that. Well, go ahead.
It feels to me, Debbie, like we should be very appreciative of your radio broadcasting organization, Horsemanship Radio. We should be very happy with Horse and Country TV and things like that, because we're going to have more people show up at our live shows because more people are going to know about horses. And horses are no longer, for the most part, no longer an absolute essential part of our lives like they were when they plowed the ground and pulled the stagecoach and so forth and so on. So it's because we love them and because we live with them and because we want to be around them that these things will keep us informed as to the value of knowing horses and loving horses and causing to be at one with horses. And it's your kind of thing. Horsemanship Radio should be so proud of the people they're reaching. I don't know what the numbers are, but Debbie may know how many people listen to Horsemanship Radio.
We have tens of thousands, and we're in about 42 countries now, mostly in the United States, though, I'm happy to say. But it's really the horse person, I think, who's been willing to learn these things, because we're pretty much a low-tech demographic, right? And a lot of people want to spend more time with their horses than they do on a screen or in a computer. So it's their willingness to learn through some of these medias that I think will help horses become more fair to horses, to learn from greats like you. It's confusing to be on the internet and try to learn from so many different opinions, and horse people are pretty opinionated, by the way. And so to be able to learn from people who are champions like both of you and Olympians like you, Boyd, is miraculous, I think, in a lot of ways. Just, couldn't have done 25, 30 years ago. So.
Well, I was so happy to hear from people that chimed in about our movement who have no horses.
Yeah.
Some of them hadn't even ever ridden a horse.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they have a draw, and I think horses do magnetize us. And so they come on. And who knows? Maybe they'll get a horse. Maybe they'll at least go and have somebody give them a lesson on a horse or something like that.
Yeah.
I am not against moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many people in the world that have got a passion for animals and passion for horses. And I think, the wonderful thing now with modern technology is that if you're really, really, obsessed with horses and how can you do a better job with training your horse, and I need some new ideas and issues that I'm dealing with my horse, and having the ability to source a champion trainer like Monty, that now it's so much more viable than it used to be 20 years ago. And I think that's there's many negatives about technology, and there's definitely, in my opinion, there's no the best scenario is to be up there live, touch the animal, feeling it. And being right there with it. But then obviously in these times that's impossible, and having this opportunity to still keep learning and keep improving with social media or with technologies, it is a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, how is Silva? Silva, Boyd's wife, we should say that for anybody who has been under a rock, is a Grand Prix dressage rider and a champion in her own right. How is she doing?
She's going well. I've kept her busy, actually. My horses are going so much better in the dressage at the moment because I'm on the sideline. It's a little bit sad, Debbie. My wife's riding my top horses, and I think I'm better off staying injured at the moment. They're going great, and she's got two wild kids that they need to get sent to Monty Roberts to get a bit of training as well. I think they need to join up.
Knox and Leo Roscoe, I'm so glad that you're training up a couple more Martins out there too. Yeah. So thanks for doing that for the world.
It's a challenge.
I'm sure you're right in the thick of it. Well, thank you both for being on. I appreciate you, and I'm sure people that haven't heard that they can avail to your personal coaching will be so excited to hear that, and I hope they take advantage of it right away before this whole thing lifts.
I want to do it too.
Yeah, you want to do it with Boyd. You guys, swap numbers here. Yeah.
To talk about, I mean, it'd be a pretty intimidating. I'd stay up all night making sure that I'd say the right thing if Monty Roberts.
No, you'll be fine. Thanks a lot, Debbie.
We'd love to have you back. Yeah.
Great. Well, it was great talking to you, Debbie and Monty. You've all been an idol of mine, and I can't believe I'm on a radio show talking with you. It's a real privilege.
Well, thank you, Boyd, and look forward to meeting with you again sometime in person.
Hi, I'm Monty Roberts, and I'm coming to you now to talk about the Monty Roberts Online University. You know, there ought to be 6 months in everybody's life where they just live with their animals. I've been staying home, but 3 months now, I've been home with this virus thing, and the things I'm learning, we're bringing you a new series. What horses see, how horses see, and about horses seeing things. The Online University is bringing you the last 3 years of my learning process, which I promise you is the learningest years I ever spent. The Monty Roberts Online University, you won't miss a minute of it if you get started on it. I love bringing it to you, and it's my shot to take my concepts to the next generation.
Laura Azara used to be part of the Diamond D Cowgirls drill team, and in recent years, she's been doing ranch riding, which we wanted to talk to her about. Laura hails from Georgia, and she's a commercial pilot. Well, welcome, Laura Azara. We wanted to have a horse girl on that had a little bit to do with Diamond D Cowgirls, I heard you have in your background, and I'm excited to talk to you and introduce you a little bit to our listeners. How are you?
Well, hi, Debbie. I'm doing very well, and thank you for having me on.
I'm glad to have you on. Where are you hailing from today?
We're in Noonan, Georgia.
You're in Georgia. I didn't even hear a little Georgia in there. Do you have a little Georgia in you, or did you come from someplace?
No, Florida.
Florida.
Originally from Florida.
Yeah, we wanted to have you on, Laura, because we've got some friends from Finishline Fencing, and they were introducing me to your interesting story. And we love horse girls here, and we love how people can figure out ways to stay with horses in their vocations and avocations. So I wanted to ask you a little bit. So did you grow up with horses?
I did, yes. I've had quarter horses most of my life.
Is that right? My favorites? Well,
yes.
Can I? I'm not supposed to say that, but that's what I grew up with too. And so you were in the Western genre, or did you ever put an English saddle on?
Always have ridden Western.
Yeah, good. And Kim tells me that you've been doing a little bit more in the show ring now too, not just trail girl.
Yes, that's correct. I rode for a professional drill team, Diamond D Cowgirls. And in the last few years, I've been showing in ranch riding.
Oh, fun. I love the ranch riding. Tell me how you got into that. Did you have a friend that was doing it, or did you just pick it up?
I just picked it up. I knew that I wanted to pursue a different discipline, and had a friend that was involved with the ranch riding, actually reining, and I just went after it. I thought it would be a little more laid back than maybe other disciplines, and it's just been so much fun. So I've really enjoyed it. The atmosphere is really nice. Everyone that I've shown with has just been a pleasure to be around, and I've really enjoyed the mare that I've been able to show for the last few years in the ranch riding.
Yeah, tell me how you found her and how you got her into the ranch riding, or was she already pretty? Does she know more than you, or do you know more than her?
She knows more than me.
Okay, perfect.
So she actually came from Craig Johnson. His father actually bred and raised her, and she was in Craig Johnson. He's a reiner, his training program. So she had a wonderful foundation, and she had already shown some in the ranch riding. I think Craig showed her at the World Show before I had her. And so she's taught me a lot, which has been really, really valuable in my showing experience, to have a horse that that knows more than I do.
Yeah, it's a great way to learn. And so have you ridden all along, or are you getting back into horses now with this first, the Cowgirls drill team? And
I have ridden most of my life. There was a period when I was in college that I did not have horses, and I probably took a 7-8 year break. But just as soon as I could get back into it, I did, and have had horses for the last 6-7 years now. And so have been part of the Diamond D Cowgirls professional drill team, and most recently the ranch riding.
Yeah, good for you. You're a true horse girl, because that's a horse. I heard one of my friends say the other day, I hadn't talked to her for a while, and I said, so do you have a horse right now? And she goes, no, I'm between horses. I mean, that's a horse girl, right?
Yes.
We're always pursuing horses. So I'm glad you're back in, and we didn't lose you, but you became a professional pilot, which is an interesting aspect to your life too. How'd that happen?
Well, I decided at 23, I'd always been interested in aviation, and I didn't realize that it would be a career that I could pursue. Financially, there's not a lot of women also in the field, but I had some really great influences, friends of the family that were and are pilots now, that supported me and talked about it. And I decided at 23 to sort of shift gears from a business degree and to go into aviation and become a pilot. So that's when I got away from having horses, because I needed to focus and pursue those goals, and spent time in Florida at Embry-Riddle, and have been flying for the last 13 years now.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yes.
I mean, kind of an intense. Do you fly for a private company, or are you American Airlines? Are we going to see you out there if we're traveling again ever?
So I know. Tell me about it. I did fly commercial. I flew for a regional airline, American Eagle Airlines, which is American Airlines regional carrier. And then I decided, because it was always my goal really to be on the private side, the corporate side of the industry. So I've been flying corporate for the last 8 years.
Okay.
And have really, really enjoyed that. So I fly for a private company now.
Fantastic. Great. I'm glad to always know a pilot.
Yes.
I always worry when there's only one pilot in the cockpit, though. Should we worry about that? Should you always have somebody in the other seat with you?
I'm an advocate of always having a crew. There's a lot of airplanes that are able to be flown with one pilot, but for safety reasons, I've always believed that a crew atmosphere is just the best way to go, especially when you're flying professionally.
Yeah, I would think just, you don't want one pilot with a heart attack. That's what I heard. It's too much like a movie, bad movie.
Right.
Yeah. Well, back to horses too. So you're doing the ranch riding, and you got this quarter horse. How big is your quarter horse?
She's, typical little quarter horse. She's about 14.3. She's very stocky. She's just the cutest little mare. And she's not that big. Most of them that are, started as reiners and cutters are really not that big.
Right.
But she's just done fabulous in the ranch riding world. And like I said, has taught me a lot, and I've been able to show and win, and that has been fun to get a taste of that.
Oh yeah, I got a few rosettes you hanging on your tack room wall.
Yes,
it's a bit of a tribe, this ranch riding, at least in California where we are too. We've got we've got a lot of men actually coming into the ranch riding, which is really fun for us too, because there's so many women, obviously, in the in the leisure riding especially, but throughout the industry, frankly. But the men are actually having some fun without having to get into the full-on reining too. Is it a bit of a tribe that you go around to these shows with, or do you know people?
Yeah,
you see the same.
It is. I would say that's true. Usually at the local shows, you see the same people, and it's really just fun because you get to see them, once a month or twice a month. And but I have noticed that also, that you say that there's more men in the ranch riding now. When I started a few years ago, I was competing primarily against other women.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say in the last year, it was 50-50. In our amateur category. So it was nice to see that.
It is kind of fun. It's nice to see guys getting back into the industry too. It's such a pendulum swing. But do you have your horse at an equestrian center per se, or are you fortunate enough to have her in your backyard?
We're very fortunate to have a small farm here, and so I have my horses home.
Oh, that's great. So, and is that something you've always had all along, or was that a goal as well?
It's not. Actually, 6 or 7 years ago, we were blessed enough to buy our first farm, and it was a working blueberry farm. And yes, it was so much fun because it was all new. Well, I've never been a farmer, so it was diving in head first. But we bought that farm and converted it to a horse farm over time.
Okay, now tell me about that. So if somebody has a piece of property out there, did you start from scratch, essentially? Blueberries?
We did. So we didn't start from scratch with the blueberries. That had been established for about 40 years. Family that we bought it from had established it about 40 years ago. And so we had a lot of good information going into it with getting that going and keeping it running. It was a U-pick farm. And but as far as setting it up to have horses, that was new for us, and it was pretty much a blank slate because it was just we had the acreage, and then we had to get the fencing up and the barn and everything.
Did you put it all in, huh? Wow, that is a big project. I mean, that's something you probably didn't have any of that stuff on your radar, and you had to do a big, huge educational catch up.
We learned a lot. It was a huge learning curve.
Well, one of the things that Kim was telling me about was the fencing. Tell me how you chose.
Well, I'll be honest. The reason that we chose Finishline fencing is because we got a quote for 4-board fencing, which is, of course, beautiful, but it's very expensive. Yeah. So, being new to owning a farm and all the costs associated, our quote was pretty astronomical to do the whole property with the 4-board fencing. Yes, it was a bit a sticker shock. Yeah. So I started researching different horse-safe fencing products, and Finishline came across. And I was really interested in the product because I knew we were only going to have horses, and it is a horse-safe option. And it's affordable too. It's a really economical choice, but it's beautiful. So you're really getting best of both worlds with that product. So we decided to go forward with the Finishline fencing. And when we started working with it, my husband and I were installing the fencing on the property. It was so easy to do. It was just he and I that primararily worked on the fencing project, and we were able to do it ourselves. How
much did you have to put in? I mean, are you putting in acres, or what did you have to put in?
2 big pastures. One was about 5 acres. They were both about 5 acres.
That's huge.
There was a considerable number of poles that, and holes we had to dig. And I'd say that the actual install of the Finishline was the easiest part of it all.
Good. So pretty much DIY then, and affordable. That's good.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah. And then the barn, you had to put up a barn for her too, right?
Yes, we started to. Well, we're on our 3rd farm now. So.
Oh my goodness. You guys are gangbusters. You're ambitious.
We are. We're every farm that we've had now, since the blueberry farm, we've installed the Finishline fencing on. I'm just such a believer in the product that we've put it on all 3 farms. So we're here now at the 3rd farm and installed the Finishline XL. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that product, but it's a
heavier. Yeah.
Yes.
So you're putting that in. Is that because your horses are getting bigger, or did you get cattle too?
Well, I thought aesthetically, I really liked how it looks. It's a little bit, the diameter is a little bigger, so you see it a little bit more than the regular Finishline, which I love the regular Finishline as well, but I just thought it would be something new to try on this farm. And we were also able to do it in black, which we thought would look really nice on the property that we have now. So I've been very pleased with it, and it's just been perfect for our needs.
Yeah. Well,
crossed.
thank you. It was fun to meet you and fun to catch up with you. And I look forward to having you on again sometime, Laura.
Well, Debbie, thank you. And same to you. I enjoyed talking to you.
Whisper the language of the herd. Listen, you don't have to say a word.
It's time for Jamie Jennings to fetch an email from Monty Roberts' inbox and share a morsel of Monty's wisdom in a little segment we like to call Ask Monty.
Leave this world a better place than mine. The magic in the language of the herd.
Dear Monty, how do you ride a bucking horse? I think there may be a few overfresh horses coming out at the end of lockdown with riders who will be challenged to sit a buck. I'd love to get some advice from you on the staying on part. I think I can sit a buck pretty well, as riding racehorses taught me to grip with my ankles. There are many roads to Rome, though. How does your dressage trained rider stay on for a rodeo? Would you have some words of wisdom on this, please? Kelly. Monty's answer. Isn't it coincidental I was planning to ride Chrome today so I could school a particular thoroughbred to respond to the dually halter while being led from another horse? Since Chrome has had an uneventful month or so, I was wondering what to do with him because he will tend to buck when he's fresh. I think your idea is a good one and should be valuable to horsemen worldwide. To my way of thinking, the most important part of these fresh horse rides is what you do before you get on. Prior to putting yourself in the saddle, there's very little chance of being injured by a fresh horse, but once you have one leg on each side of him, you belong to him. The fresh horse can buck you off even if he's the kindest character you could ever imagine. It is what Equus is. Equus represents a flight animal with a world of energy and a deep temptation to buck and play, especially when fresh. Whether the bucking is entertainment for the horse or a serious attempt to get one off his back, injuries occur under either of those conditions. Before I get on Chrome today, I intend to first put him in a turnout to stretch his legs and then have him saddled and released once again in a safe enclosure, watching that he doesn't roll. While I have round pins, any small enclosure with good fencing and reasonable footing will do. I have some rectangular turnouts on our farm, which are about 20 by 40 meters. I have used these with Chrome before and found him to be very prone to buck, run, and play for about 4 or 5 minutes. After about 4 or 5 more minutes with no bucking, I then feel safe to mount. There was a time in my life where I would simply saddle a horse of this description and get straight on. I found it to be fun to have some bucking and playing under me. Remember, I spent 2 years riding bulls in professional rodeo. Do not fall into the same category. There is no fun in wearing a cast, and it's not right to subject your horse to being listed as another horse who caused an injury. It isn't fair to the species, and we should show them far more responsibility than my former actions would express. Injuries are not fun to horses or humans, and if you followed my techniques from the beginning with your horse, I would suggest to even resort to long lining experience in the early stages in the process of training one horse now for rides or pleasure. Somewhere in my 8 books, I suggested that one of the golden rules of good horsemanship is to print with a bold red marker on a piece of paper, safety first. Place one of these reminders in your tack room, another in your feed room, one in your car, one more in your fridge that you visit several times a day. The lack of attention to safety has caused more people to give up on horses because of irresponsible accidents or even just the fear of having an accident because of the dangerous behavior of the horse involved. People tend not to admit that they gave up on their horse interest because of fear. The fact is, however, a huge percentage of these people give up on their horses, at least in part by a fright they received.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Where in the world is Monty Roberts?
Monty is looking forward to meeting some new friends, 2-legged and 4-legged. On August 3 through 7, he has the Monty Special Training in Solvang, California. And then we have August 17 to 28 is Gentling Wild Horses. That'll be a fun course. And then we've got September 11 through 13. We not only have a horse sense and healing clinic for veterans and first responders with post-traumatic stress, but we also have a CHA equine facility management certification going on at the same time at Flag Is Up Farms.
And you can find all of that and more by going to montyroberts.com, where you have the schedule, how to join the university, The phone number, which happens to be 805-688-6288, where you can find all the things that are going on at Flag Is Up Farms and with Monty Roberts. And for details about today's show, go to horsemanshipradio.com, and there you're going to find links, photos, and more information about today's guests and topics. And we love your feedback. It helps us make this show better. Follow us on Facebook. Just go to Facebook and type in Monty Roberts. You want the one with the little blue check mark. And on Twitter, it's Monty_Roberts, as it is on Instagram. Now go get the app so you don't miss any shows on the Horse Radio Network. It's available for your iPhone or your Android. Go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. It's free and easy to use. And you can listen to us on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher.
Yes, and many thanks to our sponsors, too. We have Finishline Fencing as our title sponsor and Monty Roberts University as our show sponsor. Couldn't do it without them. Be sure to visit all the other great shows, too, on the Horse Radio Network at www.horseradionetwork.com. Until next time, have many happy horse hours.